But this was your very first gig, very first time you acted. How did you continue doing that? Because the first time it feels like, okay, this was something, a new experience, and you feel like, okay, this is it. How did it continue?
Um, so I was very lucky. I think one of the assistant directors on the set was trying to start up his own casting agency. So he did something that he probably shouldn't have done. He took down my email, he took down my contact when he was signing me in. And then he sent me an email basically saying, "Hey, I'm a new talent agency and I'd love to work, I'd love to sign you if I can." And the terms were a little bit sketchy, so I've learned since that these terms are not exactly terms that you should go by. You'd never want to sign with an agency that charges you money to get in there, but they basically told me they had kind of two options. I either could have paid 75 bucks up front for a registration fee, or I could do 40 bucks up front and then pay 45 out of my first paycheck. And so I opted to go for the second option because I thought, okay, well, you know what? If you're that attached to me getting a paycheck to get paid, I'm fine with I'm fine with foregoing an extra 10 bucks. So I ended up signing with this guy. I really just didn't know any better. And I don't know that they were the best agency in the world, so I'm not going to name them, but they did get me back on set. And they lived up to their word that way. And through them, I ended up getting work for the next 2 years. So just because someone was a little outside the rules there doesn't mean that they didn't work. Like, they worked hard for me and I made a lot of money working for them. Their practice admittedly was very low risk on their part, which would make them look sketchy to an actor. So I was lucky that an agency reached out to me. Because if you go looking for an agency, you're a lot more likely to fall into a scam. It's very difficult to find a reputable agency if you don't have friends in the industry that can have actual experiences with people that are signed by them. But honestly, I lucked out in that respect with the people I met.
So you would suggest, if someone is going towards this direction, probably should be careful of scams. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, scams are going to appear anywhere where people are looking for hope. Anytime there's a natural disaster, scam agencies are like scams will usually come up in the first couple of options for donating to those causes. So scams are always going to appear, and it sucks that artists are often the target because it's not like we have a pile of money. But the more time you spend around things, the better off you are. And I've kind of narrowed it down to a quick filtration system for whenever you're dealing with someone new in the industry. Is, are they asking for money or are they asking for your work? Because you have to do some work for free anyways. So if someone cheats you out of some value for your work, there's a way that you're still using that to propel your own career forward. Even if the person that you were working for isn't doing very well, maybe the people you were working with liked you, whatnot. But if it's paying somebody, you need to be paying them to do a job, or they need to be paying you to do a job to their parameters. And in that case, whoever's the one paying is calling the shots. So anytime you have someone saying, well, you pay me and then you can start to do work, which in this case is acting, that's where you need to start asking more questions. And if you find yourself in a situation where that, for whatever reason, and these situations do come up, where you need to go out on a limb for someone that you don't exactly trust, you want to do everything you can to make sure that that person is invested in your success. So I ran into this in business too. Sometimes people will have sales jobs and they love to say, oh, this is a completely commission-based job. And I would say, okay, well, then why do I need you? I've been doing commission-based jobs since I was shoveling driveways. You know, why do I need, what are you providing to me? Because if it's a completely commission-based job, you can give me a product that has no value, put me into a place where there's absolutely no market, and then say it's my fault that it's not selling. You know, you want to make sure that whoever you're working for, film or otherwise, is just as invested in making sure that you're going to do your job well and look good as you are. So
That's a
anytime,
very valuable. Yeah, that's a very valuable advice. Yeah, especially starting out. You're young, you're very enthusiastic, so you take any opportunity that comes your way. But these are very useful tips for sure.
yeah. And no matter how smart you think you are, it's important to remember, no matter how smart you think you are, there is always a liar out there that is smarter than you. And they only have to be smarter than you once. So just because somebody screwed you over doesn't mean that you're dumb. It doesn't mean that you're not. It doesn't mean that you haven't done your job. If anything, you should almost be a little flattered. It took that level of skill and manipulation to get past you. And you can learn to have that happen less in the future. But I think it was Oscar Wilde, one of my favorite writers, who said the easiest way to learn if you can trust somebody is to trust them. And that's never going to change. If that means you get burned once in a while, that's just the nature of the beast.